Talking shit.
Welcome back to Talking Shit, presented by Sports Interaction, a brand new sports show where we dive into the world of sports and talk about anything and everything except the actual games. I'm your host, Prince Huda, and I'm joined by an all-star cast of co-hosts today. First off, to my right is Sarah. Sarah, how are you doing today?
Good to be back.
Yeah.
New year, new us. Same us.
Same, new glasses.
Yeah.
So?
Bit of a contact issue. Don't worry, they'll be gone. The glare will be gone next week, guys.
I don't think they care about the glare. I'm doing it every week. But we also have a brand new guest joining the show today. If you follow Sports Interaction on TikTok and Instagram, you're probably familiar with this face. One of the brightest minds in hockey, Celine from Sports Interaction. Celine, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
What an intro,
Right?
Celine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd go that far, but I'll take it.
Well, it's you got to hype up the guests. We got, some successful podcasters in the room. I just started one. I'm trying to keep up with everyone. I feel like I'm playing catch up in here. So it's nice to be surrounded by like-minded, creators, which is cool.
That is very true, because we all are unique in our own ways.
Oh my God.
For sure.
Why are you laughing, Sarah?
We're just all the compliments. Everyone's great in their own way, guys.
Okay, I didn't mean it in like that way. Okay?
Well, it
No.
seems like everyone had a good holiday. A lot of great sports on over the holidays.
Yeah.
One not so great piece that I do want to jump into. This happened this week. Team Canada, World Juniors. I mean, we talked about it. It's funny. We had this conversation a few weeks ago, and you guys were saying how it's so played out. Canada wins every year. Like, it's not that entertaining.
Johnny said it was so played out, first of all.
He did. And I remember we were like, yeah, like this year, it could be Canada, it could be USA, but it could be Czech Republic because Canada got bounced. Canada is eliminated at the time of recording. This is in the semifinals, but Canada's been eliminated from the World Juniors in the quarterfinals. What the heck happened? Like, why is it that, in my opinion, I just feel like every time Canada, in some instances on the big stage, they deliver. But for the most part, it seems like whenever I'm watching, Canada always seems to let me down. I know they won 2 World Juniors back-to-back years, but it just felt like this team was special. And, we'll never know because they're out in the quarterfinals. And I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty upset about it, as you can tell.
I feel like lots of Canadians are pretty upset about that. If you were watching the game, you saw like how many Canadians packed out that arena. We travel for our team, regardless of what stage they are on. We are there supporting them. And it was so funny to see when like the States were playing, it was an empty arena. I'm like, because that was right after Canada got out too. I'm like, everyone just left on the flight back home to Canada. But, Canada is a really good team. 2 straight gold medal wins. Then you also had in 2020, they got gold. 2021, they made it to the finals. It's a really good team. We're really good at playing hockey, but this year, they just weren't shooting. I swear to God, the amount of times I heard commentators go, shoot the puck. Like, that's what us fans say when we're watching the game. We always yell, shoot the puck. What are you doing? Shoot. And it was absolutely insanity hearing commentators actually say that because they were playing 2 Canadian on the ice and just wanted to pass the puck to everybody on the team. It was pretty absurd to see that. But I mean, hey, look, they played their hearts out. I know it's not the ending that we all kind of hoped for, but it is an international stage and there's a lot of pressure on the team when it comes to that. And it's a real big learning curve. Plus, you didn't have some of the stars playing in the World Juniors because they were in the NHL. So they didn't have that chance to go back. But overall, you still got to be behind your team, support them. Next year, we'll get them. We always do. We come back. This is the year. Next year, that's the year.
Didn't they lose in like the final couple seconds of that game?
Yes, they did. Let's not talk about it.
Well, my point is more so like, listen, you can't really give them that much stick because it's a quarterfinal. It's a tournament style game. So you're losing in the final minutes. Like, obviously it's heartbreaking, but they obviously fought until the end. Like, it wasn't like they were getting smashed. It wasn't like, they were losing 3-0 in the first period. 3-0. I'm such a footballer. Do you know what I mean, though? Like, I think to me that at least shows like it came down until the very end. And like these kind of things happen in any tournament style, like I feel game, match, whatever. It's cutthroat. But it is what it is.
If you saw like the way the last goal, like, so I'm sure you saw the goal. It was like a shot, from outside the slot. It got deflected, didn't even leave the ice. Goalie didn't even see it. Like, it's one of those, come on, like when you're watching the game, you're like, oh shit, like that's how we're gonna get eliminated. I think that's what's really stinging in here right now. And just again, like in my the World Cup this year, everyone's talking about Canada's men's soccer team. We didn't perform very well.
First of all, look at the Canadian women, because they've been holding this country down in every sport for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I made sure to say men. I made sure.
I know,
but
you were saying like Canada doesn't perform when it comes to like the world stage. Well, the women for sure do. I can't speak on hockey. We have a Canadian driver in Formula One and Lance Stroll, where there are literally 20 drivers in the entire world. And even though his dad probably paid for him to be there, before him, Nicholas Latifi from Montreal was also driving there. Like, we have like Canadians in Formula One, which is maybe the most elite sport because of. Are you getting a phone call?
Oh my God.
I can't.
My own father trying to interrupt my show.
I get him on the pod.
I will not get him on the pod because he'll probably agree with you. Like, the thing is,
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I think you're generalizing a little too much. Like, Celine, I feel like before we started recording, you were also kind of like, what do you mean when you say that? I feel like you had something to back up there.
For like Canada playing on the world stage.
Yeah, like in any sport. Like, I don't think it's like as bad as you're making it seem.
No,
it's not. I think it's just the ones that I seem to be unlucky enough to watch. Like, I think listen, I didn't know much about soccer. Sorry, go ahead, Celine. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say maybe you just bring the bad luck. So let's just not watch any more sports when Team Canada's playing at a level like that. Just keep your TV off and stay on your couch.
I will be skipping the Olympics this year.
Do not go to that, please.
Well, it's in Paris. I don't unless Sports Interaction wants to get me out there for content. But probably, I don't know. For me, like everyone said, oh, this is the year Canadian men's soccer. I was excited. This was the first time I've really watched soccer. We've been over this. And I was just kind of like, what am I? Again, like I'm just taking what I see. Oh, Canada on a world stage. And, Olympics, Winter Olympics, we used to dominate. We had hockey every year. We had the world championships. It just feels like I think Canada is like almost there. But just, I don't know. In my perspective, I just feel like we don't show up when it counts. And World Juniors is usually the one that we got in the bag every year. So to see it end like that after 2 straight championships, I'm upset.
I think it's more that like Canada maybe needs to step its game up because other nations that we wouldn't, 10, 20 years ago consider competition are now stepping their game up. Like they are becoming better. So you have teams like maybe Czech Republic, even though they've always kind of been like present in hockey, but that's the same thing with soccer too. Like there are other teams where you might overlook them. Like everyone in Canada besides me, I swear to God, thought Morocco was going to be like a layup for Canada. That was the one game where Canada was going to win. How dare you? Like, nothing, but this is what I mean. Like, I think with the US, they have so much more money coming in and they've put so much money into, creating a better sports system from, hockey to soccer to baseball, whatever. But I think Canada, like, we really need to like take a step back maybe and look around and be like, wow, like everyone else is stepping up. We have to not, take anything for granted anymore.
Hey, I just actually going off of that, this has nothing to do with sports, but Canada is always behind in everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay?
Fashion
is the worst. Go
it's
to
the
Europe,
worst.
They have all the trends, everything new, and we
It
always
comes
get this
here
shit
like
stuff after.
It comes here 2 years later.
Yeah.
Like I started
Okay.
counting it because I was going to Spain every summer. And I was like, oh my God, that trend that was in Spain, let's say in 2008, came to Canada in 2010. Like we are so behind the times. It's crazy. Yep. So maybe it's sports too.
You know what? Even with subway systems too.
I can't even talk about it.
We are so behind. Go to New York. They have like thousands of trains running. They have like 5 different lines. We're in Toronto. How many lines we have? We have 2. Don't we have 2?
We have 2. It's
no idea.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't count. Sorry. 3 and 4 don't count. I'm sorry. No one is going to Glencairn.
One is like 5 stops. That's it. Like
yeah. The extension. It's also like just the Scarborough line. That's an extension of line 2. I'm like, it's just going up. Yeah, no, I completely agree. We can't get into talking about the TTC though, because
I mean that could be a brand new show in itself.
That could be a weekly show where we're like, what happened to you this week? Yeah,
for sure. But it's funny you bring that up. Canada is behind. I think like One thing that's really happening right now, and actually at the time of recording happening next week, the college football national championships. Think about how big collegiate sports are in the United States and how much, emphasis they put on college football, March Madness, college basketball. And in Canada, you don't really see that. I mean, we have the Vanier Cup. They do televise the games, but you look at the stands, there's not a lot of people there. There's not a lot of passion rallying around certain players. And I've always found that odd. Like, it's the same sport, but for some reason in Canada, U Sports is not as highly touted as it is in the States. And that's something that I really question. I'm not really sure why it's not as big in Canada as it is in the States.
Unless it's Hoko and you're like, it's the one game that
Yeah,
matters, guys.
one
We have to
game.
crush Queens.
Stop. That's so funny because it's so true. Actually, I've thought about that too. The States is just so much bigger for college sports than here, especially with basketball, with football. They take football so seriously down in the States. Like, college football is their NFL. It's insanity. I swear, college
It's
football is
bigger.
bigger than the CFL. Like, it's
It's
insane.
bigger. Like, the stadiums are bigger than NFL stadiums.
It's crazy.
They're like, it competes with like soccer for like the amount of people they fill in the stadium. Like, it's insane, but it's because of all, like, it comes down to funding again, right? Because it's like these grandparents go to these, schools, and then their kids go to schools, and then all the alum give money back. Like, it's such a historical thing. And it's very, like, I don't know, cliquey. Like, you ride or die for your school. Like, it's a very like generational kind of thing. And I mean, it all comes down to money in the end, right? And that's like, they have the money to also develop the best systems for these kids to go through. So when, even as a Canadian, if you want to try and become an athlete after high school, you try to go to a school in the US. You're not trying to go to a school in Canada, because all these like universities have already had these amazing, programs that have been developed. It's not that the ones in Canada are necessarily bad, but if you're trying to be a pro athlete, that's already like a 1 in a million kind of thing. You're not going to, risk it by going to a decent, let's say college football school in Canada when you have the, option to go to a renowned college football school where, scouts are going to be there because the coach is friends with whoever. Like, it's just, they have so much more like time and money behind it. I think it's just maybe in 100 years Canada could get to that level, but like, I don't even see it.
It's the level of hype. Like, you said about the stadiums, right? Like, Michigan University, they can fit 100,000 people in their college
Literally
stadium.
the size of Barcelona Stadium. Like, it's effed.
Could you ever imagine 100,000 people at a Laurier football game? No disrespect. That's where I went to school, but I went to school there, and like, we couldn't fit, 2,000 people there. So to see 100,000 at a school in the States where they're doing the same game, just the only difference is that, some rule changes, but same level of play. Obviously the play, style in the States is definitely more high level because they're going to the NFL, but it's just bizarre that Canadians don't rally around, their former schools. Students don't rally around their schools in the same way that US schools students rally around their football team and basketball teams. I've always found that very interesting. And with the national championship on deck this week, I had to bring that one up.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. And I feel like the sun is even telling me that you're correct too, because it's just glaring.
Wow, look at that glare.
Right in. Girl, take it.
Golden hour.
It's a golden hour. But yeah, no, it just, there's so much more money down in the States. And even my cousin, he's got a golf scholarship to play in the States, and he would much rather take it to go play down there than play up here, because there's much more opportunity down there, especially for golf too, because when you think about it, golf is more of a summer sport, whereas here we get winter for like 5 months of the year pretty much. So to play down in the States is so much easier. I mean, the weather is obviously different too, but yeah.
That's a good point.
Like, it's everything about university in the States, because also like, think about like fraternities and sororities. Like,
Okay,
we have those too, but no one cares, right?
No, but if you're like at a sorority at Western, you're probably a loser. Like, I'm not even trying to sound like an asshole, but sororities in the States, it's like, you are the girl. And like fraternities are like all like, I'm Pi Theta Mega, whatever the hell you are. Like, it is such like it's more associated with like popularity and being like a jock, or like you're in sport. Like, sororities here were like actually kind of academic. Like, the people I knew that were in sororities were like really like good, like top of like the line students. Like, they weren't like party animals. You see the sorority parties down there, you're like, oh my goodness, like, please be careful.
For the longest time, I have always said, I wish I was born in the States so I could
You are the one.
experience that.
Yep. She would
Like,
be a sorority girl.
I would fit in so perfectly. I mean, I got the blonde hair, you got the blue eyes. I'd fit into Alabama perfectly. Come on. Like get me on a flight down there. It would have been, yeah, that, you know what?
But
That life, very envious of people who actually get to live that, cuz you see it on movies all the time too,
I
especially being
think that's what it
Canadian.
is too.
Perception, yeah.
It's also,
Yeah.
yeah, they've glamorized it to another point. So it's like it's not just it's everything about the American, university. But that's also
Right.
why, like, yeah, if you go, you are die hard for the university you go to because like maybe your parents went, like I said, but also the teams are competing at such a higher level too. And it's like it's an event, guys. The football game this Sunday, are you gonna be there? Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Here, it's just like, no, you don't go to
Yeah,
any
you're
of the
not
games
going to
unless
the
it's Hoco
game.
and you're blackout at 10 a.m. So, like,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, it's weird. It's like, I don't even think it's comparable. It's like two completely like different things.
Yeah, it's like the same sport, but not
Yeah,
really.
but there's
Mhm.
nothing else similar about it.
That's fair. And I do want to take a second to apologize to anyone at the University of Western the sorority. You are not a loser. Hey, Prince doesn't think you're a loser. Only Sarah does. I
I
don't
don't
think
think you're a
so.
loser. I think you're a loser if you went to Western. What would you say? The Wuck the Mustangs? Wuck Bucks?
That was
Yeah.
I
his
don't know.
thing.
I think, yeah.
Our rival was Waterloo, so we didn't worry about Western.
Waterloo.
Yeah.
What rivalry is that? They're in the
Battle of the
labs
City.
performing like
Battle of the City.
chemistry. Like they're not, yeah, but athletic wise, like Waterloo wasn't competing
Oh,
for
we'd
anything.
smoke them. No, we'd
That's
Sarah,
smoke them
why
every time.
Sarah, what school did you go to?
McMaster won Vanier Cup, baby.
Did you
Okay.
go to any games?
Yeah, Hoco.
Okay, so one game right
Okay.
there it is
Yeah.
again. So they were in the finals, Vanier Cup, and you're still like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Because
Because
there you go.
but it was one thing, like we did go around, like everyone on campus was like, they are the best football school in Canada. And I was like, okay, cool. I went to the soccer games actually.
That's
Of
fair. I
course
think,
she goes
yeah,
to the soccer
Yeah.
games. Of course.
For what reason? Who knows? But
yeah. So I guess bottom line is, perception, number of students, and just overall
money.
hype and aura, money of going to
Yeah.
school in the States trumps Canada, and that's why you see 100,000 people at a college game in
Yeah.
the States. And you can barely fill a 3,000 seat stadium in Canada.
Like, when have you ever heard someone from the state say, "Hey, I'm gonna come to school up in Canada"? Like, it just doesn't happen.
Good point. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
No.
I couldn't name someone, but
No, none of us could.
There's not it's actually never happened before.
No, it has not.
yeah,
And
I
I
don't
would
want to
judge
continue
them.
dunking on Canada, but it's like it's just
Hey,
a
we're
tough
It's
time.
not
Canadian.
even that. It's just the fact that if the opportunity is there, you can't blame the people going there. I'm not saying Canada's
Yeah.
bad, but if they're gonna have a better chance of making it, then go there. Like I think
Yeah.
that's it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to some positive stuff going on in Canada right now. Celine, you're out on the West Coast. Big shout out to the Vancouver Canucks who are playing well
Yeah.
above expectations this year. It's good for Canada to have good teams in, the NHL, given that we have so many teams compared to other leagues, one in basketball, one in baseball, none in the NFL. So it is nice to see the Leafs are kind of doing their thing, a bit of a panic button there, but talk to us about the Canucks. What's the vibe in Vancouver right now? Is this the year? Are we just happy with the start, or is this the start of something special and a big run for the Canucks?
It's so funny you just said, like, what's the vibe? I feel like I'm a reporter now, like standing outside Rogers
Yeah.
Arena, being like, the vibes are great right
Well,
now.
you've done the streeters. I've seen you at the games.
I
Like,
did
what are
do
the
this.
fans saying?
Oh, they are ecstatic. They are so happy because it's been so long since they've seen a team, like their team, do so well. I mean, remember a couple of years ago, 2011, when it was that year, actually, I will never forget because first off, Canada just won gold with Sidney Crosby, the golden goal. And it was in Vancouver. I had to say it like that. That's how the golden goal. See,
Yeah.
like they know. And then like on top of that, it was in Vancouver. And then Vancouver made it to the finals to take on Boston, and we all know what happened there. So, I mean, from then on, I feel like the dreams and the hopes of the Canucks fan base has just kind of gotten shattered because they were never as good as they once were at that exact moment. But this year is completely different. I mean, they're first in the West. Like it's especially from last year having such a odd year. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it because I technically work for the company, but like the front office is just, it was a lot of turmoil and just it wasn't the best situation. And now this year, like the team is really stepping up and they're showing off the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's for sure. So being a Leafs fan
Yeah.
on the West Coast is very difficult right now. I will say that.
But how cool would it be that it's like your first year in Van? Imagine if they like make a, a sick run, like just for
Oh,
like it probably inside you're dying as a Leafs fan, but like how cool would it be to experience that?
oh, it would
Especially
be
because you sure haven't as a Leafs fan.
okay, Sarah.
Just
I'm
have to
gonna
get one
walk.
in, just one, just every
I'm
every
Yeah,
time,
I was
just
gonna say,
one.
if you think it's
okay.
hard being a West Coast Leafs fan, it's hard being a Leafs fan in this room. So
At least I'm not near Sarah's negativity where you
yeah,
stand me. I'm like far enough from it. I think like 3,000 kilometers
There you
away.
go.
But yeah, you know what I was saying, which would be absolutely insane. This won't happen. But if it did happen
Mhm.
and it was Vancouver and Toronto in the finals,
Could you imagine?
Would you
like
lose your mind?
Could you
What if the
imagine?
Leafs lost though to Vancouver, Celine? Like what
okay,
how would you even be able to work? Like
I
I think like I don't know. I'm trying to like put myself in that position. If it was like my team against the rival and I had to like be outside the stadium and then they lose and you're just like,
Yeah, that
are
would be
you so
tough.
happy?
it would be hard. It would be hard. But I mean, I feel like I would just be happy that the Leafs even made it to the finals. I don't even
Mm.
think I would care if they won at that point. I mean, I hope they would, but just to kind of get out of the second round now would be lovely. And then we can talk about the finals later. But I feel like, honestly, being here on the West Coast, I have adopted like being a Canucks fan because I've been to a couple of the games. I've been around lots of ecstatic Canucks fans. So the energy is really rubbing off on me, and especially to see the run they're having this year, like we were just talking about, it's great to be like a part of that, especially the first year on the West Coast. So couldn't ask for a better start for being here, really.
It's just good for the country, right? Like
Yeah,
to
we need
see the
this.
last time a Canadian team won the cup was
93
'93.
Canadians.
Yeah, so 31 years ago,
Yeah,
Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup. So to
yeah,
have more chances at that with good teams, probably people thought Edmonton would be the one with McDavid, with Draisaitl, with all the star power they have there.
yeah.
But it's really cool to see Vancouver, who not a lot of people were talking about before the season started,
No,
being that team in first. And again, this could be the year. We talk about the Leafs a lot in this room. I've been called delusional Leafs fan, but are Canucks fans delusional? Like, do they think this is the year? Is this kind of like a thing where they have it in Toronto where it's the year until it isn't? Like, how optimistic or pessimistic are Canucks fans right now?
you know what? I don't. When I've gone down the two streeters, I've like brought up like, "How are you guys feeling?" And honestly, their answers are just like, "We're really happy right now. Like, we're in a good spot." Like, I don't think they're really thinking long term right now. They're just happy where their team is placed, like first in the West. Like, they're doing so great. The team's connecting, and like they're just happy that it's not the same year they had last year. I feel like that's more so where they're at, and like whatever happens, happens. But for the time being, they're just living off of this. Like they're living in the moment, I should say.
That's good. That's refreshing to hear
Yeah.
because a lot of times, being as as a Leafs fan, you
Yeah.
get sucked up into the hype, right? You win the playoff series last year. This is the year, and then it's not the year. And so I'm,
No.
very cautious about the Leafs this year. Obviously, they're going through a bit of a rough patch right now, despite what we're seeing from Austin Matthews leading the league in goals. They're
Hey,
not
Willie
really playing.
Nylander too. Don't
Oh
forget.
yeah,
Don't
don't forget
forget.
William Nylander, 50 points. It's just hard because when you look at them from the outside, oh, everything's great, but there's goaltending issues, there's defensive issues. You got Samsonov, who won a playoff series against Andrei Vasilevsky last year and is now being sent to the minors because he can't make a save. Like, it is a bit of a panic button in Leafs land right now. I
Yeah.
wouldn't hit it yet because again, it's pretty early. It's only January, but it is bizarre to see, especially what's going on with Samsonov. Like seeing a guy, play super well, just lose their confidence to be sent to the minors. It is baffling. And I think in any sport, it's baffling. But as a hockey goalie, which is a position that's so important and so many
Yeah.
people depend on you and how hard it is to play, it really is interesting to see, a guy go from here to here so quickly.
Where are the
So
Leafs right now in the standings?
They're third in their division, but
Out
they're
of
in one of the toughest divisions.
I don't care.
yeah.
What that's every single third out of what?
I think division's what, 8 teams? So they're in
Oh,
a playoff spot,
yeah.
but
So like,
you look at how they would match up against teams in the playoffs right now, and just a lot of times
not good.
you really need a strong goalie.
Yeah.
And right now they're kind of just running the mill. They're starting goalie Joseph Wall. He's hurt right now.
Yeah.
Samsonov was the guy last year, is
Yeah,
no
I heard
longer
all
a
about
guy at
that.
all. So I don't know. Celine, what do you think? Are you panicking about the Leafs? Are you feeling good? Are you jumping on the Canucks, jumping off the Leafs? What are you saying?
Honestly, guys, I don't even know how to answer this question. I love the Leafs to the core, to my core. I'm a Leafs fan, like through and through. And I panic every year, like every single year. Let's be honest here. I think we all panic. I mean, whenever the team isn't doing as great, we all start to get worried because it's the same result we see every single year. I mean, they don't have depth. And that's something we've been saying for a number of years. There's no depth. Our goaltending is not great. Like, and our defense, like, it's not a playoff contender team as I think everybody thinks that we are, but we're not. And one thing that I say every single year is the Leafs don't have passion. They don't play with passion. Maybe this year, maybe might be different, but like, because Nylander's playing really good. And like, I used to be very hard on him. I used to say, like, this kid doesn't play with any heart. But I mean, this year's kind of showing off, which I mean, his contract is coming to an end too. So obviously, he's going to want to show off this year so he can get a nice, lengthy, money full of an extension. But hey, you know what? I mean, I think I'll really panic once it gets closer to maybe March and see exactly where the Leafs are in the standings. But until they get the goaltending issue figured out, I'm just gonna be here just hoping for the best because they gotta figure this all out, honestly.
Can I ask a question as your local
Oh
non-watching
God.
hockey girly over here?
Hater.
Oh
Not
God.
a hater, just a realist.
Okay.
But no, about because I'm actually curious. You talked about them not having passion, and I've heard this a lot from other people I work with. But the Leafs fans I know in Toronto are diehard. There's so many Leafs fans. That's generational. Your grandpa, your dad, you, whatever. I know that they exist because I see it.
Yeah.
But I heard that the vibe at Scotia is really crappy because it's like all the suits and the
Yeah.
companies buy out the seats. So
Mhm.
do you think that if that were to be full of actual diehard fans that are stoked to be at a game in general, and they're actually playing in front of the people that care the most, the fans, would that change the way they then play as well? Because they have people that are also like calling them out when they're not doing their job, like just, kind of pushing
Yeah.
them when they need to and giving them that extra, like in soccer, we always say the 12th man, but that extra,
Yeah.
like, cause some
You know,
stadiums are notorious because the fans are so crazy. Like you don't
yeah.
ever want to play there. But at least, like from what I've heard, Scotiabank isn't like that. Do you think if that were to have changed and like you have actual fans there, do you think that would benefit like the Leafs and also
I
change the way they play maybe instead of playing in front of,
Ye
whoever?
I never actually thought about that, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think you're 100% correct. If they actually had supportive, like, because they do, our fan base through and through, like you said, grandfathers, great grandfathers, not like
No, they exist. They're
it
just not there.
goes. We're the supportive ones, and like the thing is too is the tickets. If you see tickets
No,
to
I
a
can't.
Leafs game, it's like diehard fans they want to spend the money, but some of them just can't spend the money. I mean, especially to sit the lower bowl. The lower bowl is like $400 for a ticket. I was looking at tickets when I was back home last week, and we were gonna get red. It was like 450, five hundred
Red's like the
dollars.
300s, right?
No, red. So it goes like platinum gold red at the lower
Okay.
bowl, and then it goes to like green and purple, I think, on like the upper bowl. Guys, I used to work there, so I'm like got that memorized. But yeah, reds is like the top of the lower bowl, and yeah, like $500. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not
No.
gonna spend, especially if the team is mediocre, which the team is not first in
Yeah.
they're first in the division, first in the conference. None of that. I'm not gonna spend the money. I mean, the team loses game. I think they just lost. Remember a couple of weeks ago, or not even like last week, who was it that they played at home and they lost? Was it Columbus? What team?
Where they were up and then, or they were
Yeah,
down 5-0, they tied. Yeah, that was
it was.
Columbus.
Yeah, okay, and it was at home, and it's like I'm not going to spend that much money to like watch my team do that when we see that's the results, right? But the whole lower bowl, no, it's too expensive. There's too many suits. But if they finally like lower the prices, a lot more people will come. They should really like ban suits from like
I
even
think
coming in.
that's the thing. Like naturally ticket prices are gonna go up if they obviously like, yeah, make playoffs and then like first round, second
Yeah.
round. That's just like natural with sports. But I think it's just the fact that people can't even get
No,
tickets, even if they wanted to. And like I
no.
think that shows such bad culture for sports in
Yeah.
Toronto, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Like if I'm not from Toronto and I came to the city and I heard that, I'd be like, what the hell? Like, especially from like a football background where like people are die hard for their teams and like soccer fans fill up the stadium and their shirts are off and they're singing and they're dance. Like it's such a part of football culture that I'd be like, what do you mean? Like this is just like the companies that are sitting there and like this like I think it's such a bad vibe for the Leafs and I really think they need to work on that. And I do think it would actually help the players. I think so too.
Oh, 100%. Because if the energy is being like given off in the arena, the players feel it. Like, I remember a couple months ago, I think someone got a hat trick and like it was mute. The arena was mute. It's like, how are you mute? Like, your team, like, your player just got a hat trick. You should be like celebrating, like, you're about to win a game.
Mhm.
And it's quiet. It's just the environment really needs to change. And that's going to start with ticket prices for
Sean,
sure.
didn't you actually, Sean, say like that? Like, I think we were talking about Scotiabank, and you were like, it's like one of the worst like arenas in the NHL because it's so quiet.
Yeah, just the
Yeah.
atmosphere is not good because of all the reasons you guys listed. It's just a lot of people in their suites below the stadium enjoying their sushi
They're
and their
just
food and
schmoozing.
schmoozing, and
Yeah.
not getting to their seats on time. And yeah, just when you're not dealing with the diehard fans, it's going to be a little quieter than it should be in there. So yeah, you
It's,
guys nailed it pretty much on the head.
On the
yeah,
contrary, though, I was fortunate enough to go to a game in December on a Saturday, and the atmosphere on a Saturday
God.
was a lot more fan centric. You weren't seeing a lot of suits. It was a lot of younger people, like families, and it was like a pretty rowdy win. Like they won 7-0. So obviously playing well and like blowing a team out like that is obviously gonna fire fans up. But
mhm,
I guess, yeah, like when the games are during the week, the lower bowl is empty till 5 minutes left in the first period because these guys are still coming in later
yeah,
and they're not really cheering, like you said, the hat trick, right? No one's throwing hats. They're not even
no,
wearing them. So all the
yeah.
hats are in the 300 level, but they can't throw them down to the ice because it's too far. So I do think it's a problem. It's been a problem for years, but at the end of the day, they're going to keep charging these prices because they know that no
People
matter
will
what,
pay.
people are still going to fill the building.
And it's
Horrendous.
Toronto too. Everything is more expensive here.
Yeah, it's gross. There's some
Raptor games are pretty, like, I went to a Raptor game in October, and like the fact that they're not that great this year, there's not a lot of aspirations. Those fans are still pretty crazy. Like people are cheering and expecting them to win on any given night. So I will say it's not just like it is exclusive to the Leafs.
But the atmosphere, I will say, like working there, I've seen firsthand Leafs and I've seen firsthand Raptors. The fan bases are so different.
That's what
Like,
I was gonna say as well. Raptors is for the culture. Like
mhm,
Raptors is like
Yeah.
everyone, lots of younger people, lots of immigrants. Like it is like a very different vibe. And
mhm,
I think
It's more casual, right? It's
it's
like, hey, we're
definitely more
watching a Raps game.
casual. Yeah. But I also like don't know if we can answer that question because I wonder what Scotia would be like if it was the true Leafs fans filling up the arena versus
mhm.
like the Raptors fans instead of like, the suits like we keep saying.
Well, the true Leaf fans, it's like when good is great. When good is good, everyone's great. When bad, people are bad. They're putting the paper bags over their heads. They're throwing the jerseys on the ice. Like Leaf fans have seen some shit in the last 50, 60 years. So if you do
Yeah.
put the diehards in there, you better hope they play well because if they don't, the diehards are going to do what they've always done, and that is shit on their team.
And all the diehards are always outside. They're in the tailgate when the Leafs are in the playoffs. Like that's where the diehards are. Like they're all out there. They'll spend. I don't know. No, actually, we don't. They don't charge for. I thought they charged $20, but they don't. It's just the QR code that you had to scan. But that's where all the diehards are chilling. Like
Square,
outside. Yeah, Maple Leaf
Oh.
Square.
Sorry, Jurassic Park? Sorry. Yeah, just making sure.
It ain't, it's not going to be called that for quite a while, I
Well,
don't think.
I mean, at least the Raptors won something, guys.
They did, and it's a great segue actually because it's funny that you think about 4 years ago the Raptors were on top of the world, champions, million people at
Was
the
it only
parade.
4 years ago?
2019.
God, I feel like
Right?
I've lived
Not
3
even 4
lives
years
since
ago.
then.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like
Oh wow, that's
that was a
Jeez.
moment in time that we'll never forget.
Never.
But you look at the Raptors now, and it's like Detroit Pistons, who had one of the longest losing streaks in NBA history, on the verge of breaking the record, beat the Toronto Raptors, of course. Raptors trade OG. Like, the team isn't great. I don't think there were any expectations for them to do well, but it is just hard to see a team that you've watched be in the playoffs every single year and win a championship not even 5 years ago go like that. And it begs the question, they really went all in on that championship. They got rid of DeMar. They traded a pick. Would you, if you're a Raptors fan going back and you knew that the rest of, or the next 5 years, next 5-6 years are going to be mediocre to bad, would you want to see that and a team be good every year? Or would you want to keep that championship and don't care what the team's bad anymore?
You want to keep that ring every fucking single time. And I don't care what anyone, if you're a Leafs fan, if you're a Raptors fan, if you're a Manchester United fan, it's a title. It's a trophy. Like, I know what you're saying, but guys, you know better than me as Leafs fans. Wouldn't you want to see your team win? Just the once, and then they'll just keep doing the same thing they've been doing for 60 years? One, like that.
Yes.
That's a good argument.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Just one. Give me
just one
Just
in my lifetime.
Please.
No, but Celine, do you not agree with me?
No,
A ring is a ring.
agree. Yeah, a ring is a ring. Yes, exactly. I completely agree with you. I mean, and the team's always going to go through like shitty situations too afterwards, right? It's not like it's going to be all smooth sailing. That's just not how it goes. I would take the championship, let them rebuild if it takes a couple years for them to rebuild, and then eventually they'll get back to where they were. It's not like it's never going to happen again.
Yeah, it's so like sports is so much like this,
Ebbs and
right? Like you
flows,
have the
yeah.
ups and downs. Like
Never know.
you never do know. And yeah, usually when a team does win, they get picked apart because they're considered the best team. They have the best players. So, other teams want them and whatever. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think like you take a trophy.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be nice to be like a Golden State Warriors fan where it's like they win however many years in a row,
but like,
and then every year you think it's over, but they're still in contention. Like, that would be awesome.
But that's also like crazy money too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know the Raptors got Kawhi, but the fact that the Raptors still won with like the players that they had, the team that they had, like that was such an underdog story. Like, that's way better. Like, of course, Golden State's gonna win with that crazy lineup of players. Like, it's just different.
It is, but it's cool. Like, a lot they drafted, like they brought in Kevin Durant on the free agent side, but they drafted all those
Remember
guys.
what Toronto did to Kevin Durant? Broke his ankle.
I'll be honest, I cheered when
remember
that
that.
happened.
I'm not gonna lie, I honestly think I did. It was
I
one of the
cheered. I
most
was like, we're gonna win a
disgusting moments of my life.
championship. Yeah.
He went down and I got up from my table and I was like, let's go. And I was
Golly.
like, he worked so hard to be here. Like, I had to sit myself down and be like, you gotta chill. But I definitely, as a Raptors fan, was like, we did it.
Yeah, it wasn't personal. Like, oh, this guy's hurt, and
it's so bad
D-
cheering for an
D-
athlete to
bad
be hurt is
injury.
disrespectful.
Yeah, but in that situation, it's like how much this meant to Toronto, a
For
team that hasn't won a
sure.
championship since '93 with the Blue Jays, right? Like, a lot of people watching this Raptors team had never seen the Toronto team win a championship before. So it was a magical run. I do agree with you guys. I would keep that run over, years of being good but not great. And let's hope the Leafs can win a championship. We just to go back to hockey for a second, the Canucks right now at Sports Interaction are sitting at plus 2,200 to win the Stanley Cup, despite having a better record than the Leafs. And the Leafs are at plus 1,100. So almost double to bet on the Canucks despite having a better record.
The Leafs are more favorable right now to win.
Yeah.
Silly people. What? That's crazy. All right.
People are high on them this year. So
go for it.
maybe
Guys.
maybe it's the year.
It's the year. They'll surprise us when we're least expecting it.
There you go.
Yeah, you never know. Well, the last Toronto team to win a championship was the Toronto Blue Jays. Speaking of the Toronto Blue Jays, our co-host Johnny Junta's battling the flu right now. We're praying for you.
Soon.
We wanted to talk about some Blue Jays.
Not dying.
I know you've been itching to get on here about some transactions the Blue Jays have been making. You did call it, but we'll see you soon. Thoughts and prayers with Johnny.
Oh my God, this is ridiculous.
He's sick.
He's fine.
He's
He's
fine.
going to be
He's
fine.
He'll be back.
He's just having an allergic reaction. That's all.
That's all.
That's all. Well, I do want to end off on one thing. It is the first show of 2024. A lot of people do, New Year's resolutions, how they want to better themselves. But as sports fans and as sports content creators, I'd love to know and go around here. What's a New Year's resolution, specifically sports? whether it's your content, what you consume, your fandom, what's a New Year's resolution related to sports that you're going to apply in 2024?
Celine, do you want to go first?
You can go first. I'll go
Okay.
after.
I don't make resolutions just in general. I only thought about this when you sent me what we're talking about on the show. I hate when people do resolutions because I'm like, if you don't like something, then change it now. Why are we waiting for January? Like,
Yeah,
I just think that like it's a silly mindset, but we're here for bettering ourselves. In terms of sports, I think the one thing I'm going to just try and change when it comes to my work is my bias. I love that we do have our biases. Like you guys are Leafs fans and you let that affect the way you think. And I'm like a Barca fan. I think it's like shows a lot of like your character and personality. I think that's really good. But I think sometimes like you have to really like take the hat off and just try and just focus on whatever you're analyzing or talking about. And I just want to try and work on that a bit because I think I'm so passionate about my team and it's such a good thing sometimes, but you have to try and remember to not let it affect everything you do. I mean, I let these guys control the way my happiness is on the weekends and maybe I shouldn't.
Maybe you probably shouldn't. You probably should not. I mean,
No,
if
it's hard. It's hard.
No, it's hard not to when you're like emotionally connected to a team. Like it's hard to not think like that as a fan.
Insane. It's so insane. But I think like whatever, like personal aside, like I think just trying to not let the bias come in when I'm working, and
Right.
especially like talking about football and stuff, just because it's a bit more professional. But yeah, it is like you do have to remind yourself. So we'll just try working on that. I think it's something I can do. So why not?
That's a good one.
Okay, well, mine is definitely not like that at all.
Oh gosh.
It's so healthy. No, I just want to learn more about NFL. That's it, guys.
Oh, we like
Ooh,
it.
like that.
Yeah, that's it. Honestly, like, because my whole goal is shout out to everybody who can hear me, and if you have a job opening for me in Nashville,
Nashville, Nashville's hiring.
Let me know. But yeah, I want to be more involved with like football, like even the college football as well, NFL. The Titans, I've adopted them, so like I want to start learning more about them because if I'm going to be living in Tennessee, I need to know about the Tennessee Titans. So but yeah, that's pretty much mine. And I feel like it's a very Americanized sport. And if I want to live in America, I want to like adopt that so I can fit in with that crowd instead of me talking about hockey and everyone's like, what are you talking about? So
Yeah.
I want to, get into football more.
We love education
good
here.
one.
That's
Love
great.
education.
Yeah. You might have to wait a little bit on the Titans. I don't think they're not nowhere near a playoff picture, but you will get to see them in September. So maybe a second half of the year goal. But I do like that.
Are you gonna be watching the playoffs in the NFL? Like Super Bowl is like a month away, a month and a half.
Super Bowl I always watch, but I always watch it for the halftime show. Not gonna lie. But
Yeah,
this
but like
year,
coming up, like they're like, are you gonna watch the leading games?
oh yeah. I want to start. I know nothing about football, but like, cool. Yeah, I will totally start to watch.
Because like these are the most exciting games now to watch. So if anything, start now to get yourself ready for like the beginning of September next year, where it's just like week 1. Here we go.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, I'm gonna start whenever their next game is, and I actually care about the team that's like playing.
There you go.
That's a good one. You guys had very professional.
Oh my God, what's yours?
Further developing. I'm gonna be honest. It's silly, but it's like stop yelling at the TV when you're betting. Like I let these bets control my mind, and like if I win, I'm the smartest person alive. I'm I'm walking around. I just made all this money, and then when I lose, like if you've seen me on the locker room when I'm losing, like it's sad. It's not fun to be around. It takes over me. You mentioned the Super Bowl. This year was probably one of the best Super Bowl games of all time, but I bet on the Eagles, so I was really sad after the game. And I didn't even think about it. Rihanna was amazing. The Super Bowl game was amazing, but all I could think about was, you're an idiot. Why'd you bet the Eagles? So not letting my sports betting behaviors affect my overall emotional well-being, I would say is like the goal for this year. And it's solved in 2 ways: either relax, not that serious, or become a better gambler. So we're probably looking at the former on this one.
Oh, wow. What's crazy is that like I feel like I act like you. Sean has seen me watch soccer games before. I don't bet. Sorry. I got really scared.
What?
I've never bet in my life on sports. Because I don't need to, because it already controls everything. I think Celine is like that when it comes to the Leafs. Like I am that person yelling at the TV. No money. No money on it. Just I'm eating this. Literally eating my mic. No, just pure emotion. So I mean, like at least you're not here. There's money.
Yeah.
Like it makes more sense. You have money riding on it. I get it. So I mean, you're better than me. That's one thing.
My one rule, like I have one rule, is don't bet on your favorite team because you're already emotionally invested. So you put money
Ugh.
and emotion, like
Yeah.
it's just a bad idea. Unless like you're absolutely certain, like there are some games where you're like, okay, the Leafs are gonna pound these guys. Like you just know and you bet on them, but for the most part, don't ever bet on your favorite team because, like you said, like you already have the emotional investment in the team, and then you put financial in there. It's just a bad combo to mix together.
Wait, I thought your New Year's resolution was to watch more soccer and get into it.
I mean, we documented that one. I will be watching the Champions League, but it kind of ties in. Like I will be betting on the Champions League.
Okay, that's fair.
I won't let the emotions of making bets on soccer games that I don't know too much about impact my day to day.
Perfect. I'll give you the bets for the Champions League. That I can do.
Yeah, as even though but like you said though, you're a fan though. Don't you think a certain way about things? That
I'm a fan of
impact?
one team, but I
Okay.
watch all of I give like a lot of my friends message me about like the games that day, and I'll give them a parlay.
Okay. So Sarah's got soccer locks. We'll
Lock
get
you
we'll
guys
get to that
in.
at some point on this show. But again, I appreciate you guys joining me today. Celine, thanks for jumping on today. I appreciate that.
Golden hour Celine.
Yeah, I'm really getting annoyed of this light. I'm not.
I
gonna
love
lie.
it. I'm into
It's like
time-
moving.
Yeah, it's been moving. Next time, I'm just putting my ring light and I'm closing these blinds. I thought it would be fine, but then I forgot the sun sets. So, yeah.
Fair
But
enough.
thanks for
Well-
having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you taking the time. Follow Sports Interaction on all your social platforms. Follow the three of us on your favorite social platforms. Have a great week. And this has been Talking Shit. We will see you next week.
Talking Shit.